At the Singapore Grand Prix, Fernando Alonso set the record for the most race starts in Formula 1 with 350 race starts. It was not really a race to remember for the two-time world champion, with him having mechanical failure after holding off Max Verstappen for several laps. That being said, he has had a very good career in Formula 1 and is still driving at the age of 41 and still has a multi-year contract with Aston Martin starting in 2023. Fernando has won 2 world championships and has been very close on several different occasions. Before we get into how good this new record he has set is, let's take a deeper look into Fernando Alonso's career. Fernando Alonso had a very strong junior career and he would get the call up to drive for Minardi for the 2001 season. Even though he was in a car which was pretty much a back marker, he still impressed a lot of people, especially with how his driving style was never been seen before. He would steer very hard and aggressively into the middle of each corners. With how good he looked in his debut season for Formula 1, for 2022 he would have a great opportunity. He was signed up to Renault as their test and reserve driver, with the promise of eventually getting the main seat in Renault. Well, he was granted that wish, and for the 2003 season, Fernando Alonso, in just his second full season of the sport, will be driving for Renault. This season set the tone for Alonso, with him breaking many records that he held for a long time. In just the first half of the season alone, he became the youngest pole sitter in the sport and the youngest driver to get the fastest lap. Then, at the Hungarian Grand Prix in 2003, he became the youngest driver to win a race at the time, and now everyone from here on in knows about the talent that the young Spaniard had. Through the whole 2003 season, Fernando had 4 podium finishes and finished 6th in the driver's standings, so a pretty good season for only his second full season in the pinnacle of motorsport. In 2004, it was an even better year for Alonso, who would get 3 more podium finishes throughout the whole season and would finish an improved P4 in the driver's standings. And people knew that if he was given a championship-winning car, he would ease ahead with it. Well, in 2005, this wish was granted and Fernando would win his first World Drivers' Championship and would become the youngest driver to do so at the time. With brand new regulations that came in this season, that meant that you did not have to stop for a new set of tyres and an engine had to last 2 races before it could be changed. It pretty much meant who had the more reliable car and would win the championship. That year, it was between the McLaren of Kimi Raikkonen and Renault of Fernando Alonso. The McLaren may have been a lot quicker, but the Renault was a lot more reliable, meaning that Alonso would take home the title with 7 wins, 6 poles and 14 podiums through the season, meaning that he would get 133 points with the old points scoring system. But looking back at Fernando's short but successful Formula 1 career, do you think that Alonso is one of the greatest drivers of all time? Let me know in the comments below. Now, onto the 2006 season, and after his dominant championship win, a lot of expectation was for Fernando Alonso to win the championship once again. Well, as we knew, he did do that with him winning 6 of the first 9 races of the season and never finishing below 2nd. He would go on and beat Michael Schumacher after both were tied on the points going into the final 2 races at Japan and Brazil. At Suzuka, Alonso would go on to win the race while Schumacher would have an engine failure, meaning he would DNF. Going into the final race in Brazil, Alonso would need just 1 point to win his 2nd back-to-back World Championship, and he would do so by finishing 2nd and writing himself into the history books as one of the best drivers of the sport. For 2007, Alonso would join McLaren alongside rookie teammate Lewis Hamilton in the bid to win his 3rd World Championship. Well, we all know how this season went, with Alonso looking to join the team and be the team leader and dominate his rookie teammate and win the championship. This was far from what happened. Lewis Hamilton would surprise everyone, to say the least. He would be on the pace and even quicker than Alonso at times. This would cause Fernando to become very angry with McLaren and Ron Dennis, as he believed that the team should focus on him, as he thought he had a better chance to win the title and the relationship was breaking down already. The tensions almost reached boiling point at the Hungarian Grand Prix, where he would stop in the pit box whilst Hamilton was behind him, and this would stop Hamilton to go for another flying lap in qualifying to push for pole position. Even though the McLaren car in 2007 was the quickest on the grid, the tension between Alonso and Hamilton did not help them at all, and neither driver won the Drivers' Championship. Kimi Raikkonen would win the Drivers' Championship, being 1 point ahead of Alonso and Hamilton, who were both on the same amount of points. Shortly after the final race in the 2007 season, McLaren terminated Alonso's contract and he would return to Renault once again. However, this time in Renault, for the 2 years he was there in 2008 and 2009, he would only get one win the whole time he was at the team for a second stint. The car was so far off the pace in 2008 that after 7 races, he had only scored 9 points. The second half of the 2008 season was much better after development, but the only win of the season would come in Singapore. This was the famous Crashgate scandal, which we will not get into now, as it is another video in itself. In 2009, the car looked even worse, and it took up to the 14th round in Singapore for Alonso to get himself on the podium. After these 2 quite terrible years at Renault, he decided that he would join Ferrari for 2010 alongside Massa. 2010 was another one of Alonso's best chances to win his 3rd championship, and he came pretty close, making it down to the final race. He won his first race of the season, but the first half of the season was full of technical issues and some errors from Alonso and the team. But in the second half of the season, he came back in the championship battle, and going to Abu Dhabi, which was the final race, Alonso would lose the championship to Sebastian Vettel after the team made a technical error, which meant that Alonso spent most of the race behind Petrov. The 2011 season was very poor for Ferrari as Red Bull stormed away with it, but Alonso got 10 podiums, 1 race win as a technical change hurt Ferrari and stopped them from pushing for the championship. The 2012 season was another great season for Alonso, which saw him get so close to another championship, but he just fell short. The 2012 season was a horrible car for pace, but Alonso still pushed the team and won few races and was in the lead of the Drivers' Championship at 1 point ahead of Sebastian Vettel. 2 crucial points in the season cost Alonso the title in 2 retirements in the first lap at Spa and Suzuka. In Abu Dhabi, Alonso would finish ahead of Vettel on the track, but it was not enough, and Vettel would go on to beat Alonso to his 3rd World Championship. In 2013, Alonso was runner-up for the 3rd time in 4 years, but this time Vettel would dominate everyone by winning 9 races in a row and was in a league of his own. In 2014, with the brand new regulations, Ferrari struggled to adapt and Alonso could not fight for a win at all. And the best he could get was 2 podiums throughout the whole season. From 2015 to 2018, Fernando Alonso joined McLaren, and to be honest, there's nothing to write home about other than that it was a horrible time for Alonso. He could not even get anywhere near to a podium, no matter a race win, and if Alonso could go back in time, he would not have rejoined McLaren, as the Honda partnership was dreadful. He would leave the sport at the end of the 2018 season, and he would race in different categories. However, he would join Alpine, formerly Renault, for the 2021 season, and he joined in the 5th best car on the grid, and he was instrumental in getting Esteban Ocon and Alpine's first ever win in Hungary in 2021. He also managed to get a podium in Qatar later in the year, showing his class. 2022 has been an okay season for Alonso, but he has had a lot of issues out of his control, and shockingly, he announced he would be joining Aston Martin for the start of the 2023 season. Alonso would go and get his record-breaking 350th race start in Formula 1 in the Singapore Grand Prix, and he's set to extend on this record with his multi-year deal with Aston Martin. What do you think of Alonso's career? Do you think he's just been unlucky, or should he have had more championships and should be considered one of the greats? Or do you think he is overrated? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching this video, and make sure to like and subscribe for more Formula 1 content.